Hello students, good morning. Welcome to Q&A class. My name is Dr. Meghna Garg and I'm biology faculty at Q&A. Students, am I audible? Good morning,
Yes, ma'am.
Ishan.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ishan. Okay, Puvina. Thank you for responding. So I hope you people are revising what we had discussed in previous class. I hope everyone is revising that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So now we will continue with this chapter, which is crop production and management. Okay, and crop production and management today, particularly, we are going to talk about protection from weeds and also harvesting. So in previous class, we had started the agricultural practices in detail, if you recall from the previous class attended. And there we had last discussed irrigation. So do you have any doubts till now from those particular topics? Any doubts, anyone? From the topics which we had
No,
discussed
ma'am.
in the last lecture? Okay, everyone else, Venpa, Isabel, Povina, Themis, any doubts from the previous classes? Anyone? Yes or no, students? At least respond.
No,
Quickly,
ma'am.
everyone. Okay, Shan, I have got your answer. Isabel, Povina, okay. So now let's continue with the next part. So prerequisites which you need to know before beginning the today's topic. So I think all of you now can memorize or can name the sequence, can write the sequence in which a farmer practices agricultural practices. So I'll again start one by one from all of you. Okay. So the first agricultural practice which is followed by the farmer during planting any crop. Okay. So I'll start with Ishan. What's the first agricultural practice, Ishan?
I'm
The
soil
first
preparation.
preparation of soil. Very good. Isabel, second would be Isabel,
Sowing,
preparation of soil, sowing. Okay. Third, Venpa. Venpa, unmute yourself.
irrigation, ma'am.
No, before irrigation, something else comes. Okay, wait. So now you have named the fourth one. Okay. Puvina, can you name the third one? The third agricultural practice? Which is done after sowing. Addition of manure and fertilizers. Very good. Irrigation. Now, Themis, the fifth one. After irrigation comes what? Themis?
Weeding. Weeding.
Hmm?
Weeding.
Weeding. That means removal of weeds. Yes, protection from weeds. Okay. Next, Sudipti, protection of weeds. After that, which agricultural practice comes?
Ma'am, harvesting.
Protection from weeds and then comes harvesting. Okay. And Kevin, the last one? Kevin, the last agricultural practice? Kevin, unmute yourself. Kevin, are you here in the class or you have simply joined the class and left it unattended? Kevin, what's the last agricultural practice? Kevin is writing something. Let's wait for his answer. The last agricultural practice. Instead of writing this much, my connection is bad. Simply say what's the last agricultural practice. The last agricultural practice. Quickly. I will not move ahead till the time I get an answer.
Ma'am, can we answer?
No. Wait, Kevin is writing something. Okay, so by meanwhile, Kevin is writing, we will keep this as a suspense. I think all of you already know the answer, but let Kevin answer it. So meanwhile, we are continuing ahead. Meanwhile, Kevin, you can write your answer in the chat box. Okay. So now let's move ahead. So today we are going to talk about protection from weeds and harvesting, and you can expect one question out of this. Okay. Meanwhile, while discussing harvesting, I would be telling you some very important concepts, which I usually personally believe that students they lack certain knowledge about it and they often get confused between two terms. Okay. So today we are going to talk about harvesting also, and we are going to cover some very interesting concepts about harvesting. Okay. No, Kevin, irrigation is not the last agricultural practice. Kevin, open your notes and revise again the agricultural practice. Okay. Now outline. Protection from weeds and again harvesting. Now let's move ahead to the next part, which is protection from weeds. Okay, Kevin, I'm still waiting for the right answer. I hope you answer it till the time I finish the class. Okay, now so in a field, along with the crop plants which you have planted, okay, so along with the crop plants which you have planted, there can be certain undesirable plants also growing in the field. Okay, so you can see from the image which is shown here, there are certain unwanted there are certain unwanted plants which are growing along with your normal crop plants. Okay, these undesirable plants, they are called as weeds. Okay, so you can see from here that in between your purple color plants, okay, the purple color plants, you can see certain grasses, or you can see certain plants which are growing and they have very large leaves also. Likewise this. Okay, so these are what? These are your weeds which have grown between the normal crop plants. Now the removal of weeds, this is called as weeding. So now the main purpose of this practice is to remove those undesirable plants from your normal plants. So you can prominently see a weed present here amongst your Kevin, your answer is correct. Irrigation. Yes, everyone else. Irrigation is the correct answer. What's the last agricultural practice, bache, after harvesting? The last thing which a farmer does after harvesting. Kevin, revisit your answer. After harvesting, what's the last agricultural practice? Okay, I think you have misunderstood the question. Okay, now you can prominently see a weed here, okay, present amongst the normal crop plants of wheat. Okay. Kevin. No. Can anybody else answer? Okay, start writing it in the chat box. Everyone else, no, Ishan, don't say it. Write your answers, everyone, in the chat box. What comes after harvesting? Let us correct Kevin. Kevin, now you have got the answer. Bache, Kevin, that's storage. Okay, so revise those agricultural practices because sequence also might come in your examination. Okay, now moving ahead, weeding is necessary. Since why weeding is necessary? Why there is a need? If something is growing with our normal crop plants, let it grow. Why is it necessary to remove the weeds? So weeding is necessary since these weeds, they compete with the crop plants for water, for nutrients, for space, for light. Okay, so weeding, that's why is necessary. Suppose now you have plants growing, okay, in your field, and these weeds, they also grow along with your normal crop plants. What will happen? They will start competing. They will first of all occupy space in which your normal plants could grow. Then the groundwater is limited, okay, and even the water which you supply to the fields is limited. So again, the weeds, they will consume water, okay, and moreover light. So weeds, they might even grow taller, and they might even hide the canopies, or the not canopies, they might even hide or shade some portions of the crop plants. Okay, and they can also compete for the nutrients which are present in the soil. So that's how weeds, they compete with your normal plants, and it overall decreases the yield of the plants. So the overall yield gets decreased. Now, thus they affect the crop growth by reducing its yield. So solve this question, everyone. Weeds are the everyone right answers. Yes, Kevin, I got it because I could understand that you are probably not getting the question correct. It's okay. Okay. Again, re-revise the agricultural practices in sequence. You have always given the correct answer previously. Okay. Yes, everyone. So very good. The correct answer is option number C. Very good. Well done, everyone. Unwanted plants growing along with the crop. Now, some weeds, they even interfere in harvesting. Okay, now what happens sometimes when you are finally, after this step, after you have removed the weeds, the next agricultural practices come is harvesting. Now, once the farmer is using machines for harvesting, okay, then what will happen? Along with your normal crop plants, even these weeds, they would be harvested, and they could even lead to the quality deterioration of your normal crop plants. While the farmer is manually harvesting, then weeds might not interfere because the farmer can identify the difference between a weed and the crop plant. But if you are using machines particularly for harvesting, then the machine will not be able to identify the difference between your machine, between your normal crop plants and your weed, and thus this becomes a major hindrance while harvesting as well. Okay, now some weeds might even be poisonous for animals and for human beings. Yes, so even weeds, they might be poisonous for animals and human beings. You can see some animals, they might even lose their life after feeding on certain weeds. And some human beings, you can see a human being has developed rashes on his skin, on his arm, okay, by during the cultivation or during the normal cultivation of his crop plants. So weeds, they can be poisonous also. Okay, now farmers, now what should be done? So we should now remove the weeds, and farmers, they have adopted a variety of ways in which they can remove the weeds and they can control their growth. Okay, so these methods can be of two types. First of all, you can see that tilling before sowing. So if you could now recall from the previous classes, so see, suppose now you have a field present in which you had earlier planted a crop. Okay, now you have removed the crops, you have removed or you have harvested the crops of that field. Now when you have left the land uncultivated for a certain period of time, the weeds might grow in that soil. Okay, so just before sowing also, when you are preparing your soil, when you are doing the plowing and tilling, at that time also weeds can be removed. So this removal of weeds is done before the sowing process. Okay, so these weeds, they might have cultivated when you have left the land uncultivated for a period of time. Fallow land, if you people recall. I hope all of you remember that we, to restore the normal nutrition of the soil, sometimes between two cropping seasons, we leave the land uncultivated for a period of time. Yes, everyone else remembers apart from Ishan and Puvina?
Ma'am, I remember.
Yes, except from Ishan and Puvina, I saw your answers. Isabel, Venpa, Kevin, Sudipti, Chetra, I hope you people remember I had told you this, that how can you replenish the soil nutrients? You leave the land uncultivated. So at that time also, if weeds grow, then you just before sowing or sowing of the next important crop, you remove those weeds during the process of tilling and plowing. Okay. Now, these weeds, once they are removed from the soil using the manual labor, what are they done? They are left in the soil as well. Now, obviously, these wastes would then do what? These dead wastes of weeds, what they will do? They will now be decomposed in the soil. So they are not removed just after plucking them out of the soil. They are left on the field itself and they are then decomposed by microbes, and that's how they will simply add to the nutritional value of the field. Okay, so that's how you can do this. Now, the best time of removal of weeds is before they produce flowers and seeds. This is very, very important concept, and I want to discuss with you in this detail. Okay. Now see what happens. Why is it particularly written? Acha, first of all, do you people know what exactly are flowers? Do you people know if we see a plant producing flowers, what is its purpose? Why a plant is producing flowers? Just for the sake
Flowers are
of
the
beauty?
reproductive parts. They are the reproductive parts of the plant.
Okay, very good. Yes,
They may
everyone
grow to
else,
the. They may grow to the fruit.
they may grow.
They may develop to the fruit.
Okay, very good. Yes, everyone else, what's your answer? Everyone else, what's your answer?
Ma'am, some flowers also produce seeds which are used in sowing seeds.
Very good. Very good. Everyone else? Chaitra, very good. Everyone else? Sudipti, Kevin, Isabel, Themis.
Ma'am, can I say an answer?
Yes, please, Kevin.
Ma'am, in sunflower, it has seeds which can be converted into sunflower oil.
Okay, very good. Yes, and okay. So Isabel is writing something. Okay, Isabel, you keep on writing. I'll read your answer. Very good. Reproductive parts. Very good, Sudipti. They produce fruits. Very good. So now, students, most of you are correct, and I'm surprised with your answers, and I'm very happy also. Now, see what happens. Flowers. They are the reproductive parts of the plant. Absolutely correct. What happens? See, we human beings, we also have the need to reproduce, to continue our progenies. Okay. In a similar manner, if you see a plant in nature, how will the plant be able to propagate itself? So for that purpose, plant produces flowers, and those flowers, they bear the reproductive parts of the plant, which are stamens and carpels. You will read about them in your later classes. For now, you can remember that because once the plant produces flowers, it means that now the plant wants to produce its progenies. The plant want to continue its progenies. Okay. So flowers, they are the reproductive parts of the plant. If by the end of the season, see, this is if you are growing something, some desirable crops in a field, if you are growing something, you will be happy. Why? If your plant, if your crop produces flowers. Why? Because obviously that means that now your plants will produce flowers, and now once they are producing flowers, that means they will now be producing their progenies, and you can see seeds coming out of them. Okay, which you want ultimately. What's your purpose of growing plants? You ultimately want something from them. Okay, so seed cultivation, for example, if you do for mustard or for any other, initially the flower comes, and then after flower you see the seeds developed in them. For example, if you're growing a mustard crop, initially they produce flowers, the mustard plant, it grows flowers, and now after later on, once the flowering season ends, then you can see development of seeds, mustard seeds. And those mustard seeds you can use in their, you can use in your household purposes also, and you can use for producing oil also. Eventually that is to your benefit. Now, if your normal crop plants are producing flowers, if they are producing seeds, you are very happy because that's your ultimate motive. But if the weeds which are also growing in that field, if they produce flowers, that means now they are also increasing their progenies. Now there will be more weeds present in the field. Now your field will be contaminated some sort of. So that's why before the weeds flower, in this term, particularly in this sentence which is mentioned here, the best time for the removal of weeds is before they produce flowers. That means is before the weeds produce flowers. Okay, because once the weeds start producing flowers, that means the now the weed has started to develop or to start reproducing, and that is not the best time to curb its growth. Okay, because at that time it will not be much effective. So effective will be that before the weeds start producing flowers, either you remove them manually, or you use something, and finally you get rid of them. Okay, everyone has understood the meaning of this sentence?
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
Yes, Ishan.
As you said, weeds grow naturally. So even in a fallow field, will they grow?
Yes, they might grow. Even in a fallow field, you can expect some seeds which might have, been left from your previous crop. Okay. Now, suppose, let me ask you one thing. For example, you are in one growing season, you have grown wheat. Okay. And in next growing season, for let's example, now you are growing maize. Okay. Now, if you are leaving the land uncultivated after the wheat cultivation, and some seeds of the wheat, they might be present in your land which have not germinated during the previous cultivated season. So what will happen now in the next season? By chance, if some of the wheat plants, if some of the wheat seeds, they germinate along with your maize, now these wheat will be weeds for you. These wheat will be weeds for you. They are unwanted plants because now you're focusing on maize. One or two wheat plants growing here and there along with maize will not be useful for you. Okay. So now you will remove them. Also, sometimes what happens? Air. in air, through air, or through any animal. The seeds can also land through water. The seeds can also land in an area where there is where you have not sown anything, you have left it uncultivated, and they can also germinate. If some seeds or if some part of the weeds which were present in the previous season, they might be left over, then they might also germinate during the time when you have left it uncultivated. Okay, so there are various ways in which even if you have left the land uncultivated, some seeds they might land onto it accidentally, or they some previously sown seeds which had not germinated, they might germinate. Got it?
And ma'am, as you said that weeds grow flowers, do those flowers turn into fruits or something?
Eventually these flowers they turn into fruits. Now your fruits definition is always what? Fruit. What do you consider a fruit as? Fruit you simply think of as an apple or as a banana or as a watermelon. Fruits in scientific languages are not always those fleshy fruits. In scientific language, fruits can also mean the fruit, the basically the pod in which your seeds are present. For example, if I tell you about mustard, okay, if I give you an example of mustard, mustard grows in a pod like this, okay, and you have mustard seeds present in it like this. Now this pod, this small pod of mustard, that is called as silica. Okay, and this silica in scientific language also it is called as a fruit. Yes. So what happens? Fruit is not always something which is edible. Fruit is something in scientific language which is bearing your seeds of the plant. Clear?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So when you talk about wheat, the wheat eventually, the part of the wheat, okay, the part of the wheat plant which is now bearing the seeds, which is now bearing the actual wheat grains, that is called as fruit. It might not be edible to you because fruit is something which has seeds present in it. Okay, got it?
So in
Ma'am.
case of weeds,
Yes, yes,
fruits of
please.
weeds contain seeds, right?
Sorry?
In case of weeds, WEEDS,
Yes.
in their fruits there are seeds.
If they develop, yes, obviously after fertilization, weeds, they will somehow release seeds, okay? And fruits, yes, definitely fruits might not be edible. Eventually, they will also release seeds and their progeny might further germinate, okay? Those seeds might further germinate and they will produce more weeds like that.
Okay, ma'am, and I have one more doubt. I don't
Yes.
know if you have noticed, but on the walls of houses there are certain plants that grow.
Yes.
Are they weeds?
See, weeds, we particularly use the term weeds when you are growing it with your normal crop plants. If those unwanted plants appear, obviously, if there are certain plants which are growing on the walls of your houses, they are unwanted to you. They might be unwanted to you, okay? Because they might be hindering with the beauty of your house or they might be weakening the structure of your house. So they might be unwanted, but you cannot call them as weeds. Okay, weeds is something which is growing in a field along with your normal crop plants. Okay, or if
So
sometimes
how would you classify the ones that grow on houses?
nothing simple, unwanted plants. You can call them as unwanted plants. There's no classification needed for them.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, most welcome. Okay, students, any
Ma'am.
doubts? Anyone else? Yes, Venpa?
Ma'am, can you spell the silica? I
Yes,
can't see it.
SILIQUA.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Now, let's move ahead. So the manual removal, okay, so now how we are going to remove weeds from the seeds. So either it can be done manually. So manually simple means that you are uprooting the weeds from their soil, from the soil in which they are present, okay, and you cut them very close to the ground and eventually removing their roots also, so that now there is no part of weed left inside and it will not be able to germinate, okay. Now, this manual removing of the weeds, that is done using a khurpi. So you can see from here, there are tools present. It has got a flattened blade of iron in front and a handle at the back. Okay. And this is a khurpi, and using a khurpi. I think all of you have seen the khurpi in your households. I have one in my
Yes, ma'am.
household. Everyone
My
else, have you
mom
seen
Same
uses
here.
to
khurpi?
plant, ma'am.
Yes?
My mom uses it to like sow plants
Yes.
and all.
Yes. Very good. Yes, everyone else, have you seen Khurpi? Kevin, Themis, Chaitra,
Yes,
Rishimita?
ma'am.
Yes. Very good. Okay. So that's a Khurpi. That's now looking like an ice cream stick. Okay. Now, again, recall from the previous class while discussing the process of sowing, I had told you that seed drill can also be used to uproot weeds. Okay. So now what will you do? Again, your question might come that, ma'am, when it is sowing plants, how will it remove weeds? So what will happen? You will not put, if you are using the seed drill for removing weeds, you will not put any seeds in this box. You will simply attach this device on the back of the tractor, and this will be dragged across the field. So it will cause the plowing and tilling also of the field because of the sharp iron blades which you can see here, and also whatever weeds will be present, since plowing and tilling is occurring at a deeper level now because of these sharp blades, these weeds will also be automatically removed from their roots. So if you are using the seed drill for removing weeds, at that time you cannot do parallelly sowing. When you are using the seed drill for plowing or tilling, then only it can be used for removing weeds as well. Okay. Now, weeds, apart from manually or apart from machines, you can use also chemicals to remove weeds from your fields. For example, there is one chemical which is called as 2,4-D. Very important. This question had been asked in previous year examinations as well. That what's one example of your 2,4-D? What's one example of your VD side? So one example of your VD side is 2,4-D. That's a chemical compound, and this chemical compound is being sprayed in the field to kill the weeds. Okay. Now they do not damage the crops. Yes. So particularly these 2,4-D, they have or they act on particular one property of weeds, any one particular metabolic reaction, which is beyond the scope of this discussion level. You will understand this when you read about plant hormones, once you read about plant physiology, where in your higher classes. So these 2,4-D, they particularly act on one metabolic reaction of or one particular aspect of your weeds, and they do not damage the normal crops. Okay. The weedicides, how they are sprayed. So initially they are diluted with water to the extent required, and then they are sprayed in the fields. Okay. So they are diluted with water and then they are sprayed onto the fields. They will harm, they will kill the weeds, but they will not damage the normal crops. Please remember this. Next,
Ma'am, why do
spraying
they
of
need it to dilute?
weedicides. Yes, Ishan.
Ma'am, why do we dilute it?
Because more concentration can be harmful for the person who is handling the weedicides. Also, depending on the concentration or the amount of weeds, dilution is done. Okay, it might not, if there are too much weeds present, then you can use a higher concentration of weedicides. If weeds present are in a lower quantity in the field, then we will dilute it.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now, spraying of weedicides may affect the health of farmers. So, just like I told you that if you are using extremely concentrated weedicides, then they might even affect the farmers who are spraying it onto the fields. So, they should use these chemicals very carefully. So, they can sometimes lead to development of side effects. They can lead to reddening of eyes. They can lead to respiratory problems, or they can lead to nausea and headache also. For this purpose, the farmers, they should cover their mouth and nose, okay, properly with a piece of cloth during spraying of these chemicals so as to avoid later any side effects. Okay, everyone, now solve this question. Everyone, start writing your answers in the chat box. Okay, Ishan, Povina, Chaitra, Isabel, Venpa, Kevin, Ishant, Hemis. Yes. So very good. The correct answer is option number B, weeds. Very good. Well done, everyone. Now let's move ahead to harvesting. Let's see how much we can cover. We have still 10 minutes left. Okay. Now harvesting of a crop is an important task. Okay. It is one very important task. The cutting of crop after it is mature. Now once you have left a certain period of time, your crops, the crops will grow, they will mature, and now finally they will be producing seeds or whatever you desire from them. Okay, and now these crops, once it is mature, they are now removed from the field, and this cutting of crops after it is mature, that is called as harvesting. Okay, it usually takes 3 to 4 months for a cereal crop to mature. So for a cereal crop to mature, at least you require 3 to 4 months. You can see various crops. Okay, you can see this is how paddy, rice is obtained from the crops. Wheat, that's how a wheat crop looks like. Okay, now harvesting, how is it done? So either it is done manually, so it is done using a sickle. So you can see this is a sharp curved blade of knife, which you can see from here. This is called as sickle. Or either you can use directly a machine which is called as harvester. So this harvester, you can see this machine which is present, which is attached at the front, and now this will be moved along the field and it will automatically remove the crops from the fields. This is called as harvesting. Now, in the harvested crop, this is very, very important concept, students. This is what I had wanted to tell you. Okay. When you are harvesting the crops, what you are simply doing, you are, suppose for example, there is a crop which is present like this. Okay. Now let's say about mustard crops and it has silica present in it like this. I'm just giving you an example. So eventually you want these mustard seeds. Once you are harvesting the crops, what you are doing, you are simply removing the plant from here or either from here. You are simply uprooting the plant. That is harvesting. You can either cut it from here or you can either cut it from here. So in the harvested crop, the grain seeds needs to be separated from the shaft. Eventually, these mustard seeds, they need to be first of all removed. They need to be separated initially from this particular part, from the stalk which they are attached, and then they need to be removed from their outer cover, from the shaft, from this outer cover which is present here now. Okay, so what will happen? You can use various machines for this purpose. Now there are two things which I have wanted to tell you people. There are two processes. One is threshing. Threshing is when you are removing or when you are separating the grains from their stalk, from the stalk on which they are present. Okay. Yes, let me complete, then you can ask your doubts. Okay. Now, threshing simply means that when you are separating the grains from their stalk on which they are growing. Okay. Now, threshing, you can see this is the stalk and you can see small particularly covered grains present in here. You can see small grains covered and present in here. Well, you are doing this, if you are simply the seeds, they will fall down like this. Okay. This is done using beating. You use physical forces to do that. Okay. You can see a person who is simply now doing what? He is now simply using the physical force and he is beating these crops. He's beating his plants across a wooden plank. Okay. This is called as threshing. However, there is a separate process which is called as winnowing. Okay. Now what happens? Suppose after you are obviously beating the crops and you are removing them from the weeds or the mustards, they are now being removed from the original stalk of the plant. What will happen now? Now you need to separate them from their cover also, from their outer cover also. You need to separate them. For this, you will rely on air currents. Okay. Now for this, let me show you one video. I have got one video for you people. You can see it from here. Okay. I will play this, everyone. Please look at this very carefully. This is very interesting. See, this is beating. This is threshing. You are using physical forces, okay? You are using physical forces, and now this is winnowing. Using air currents, now you are removing the seeds from their outer cover, from their shaft, okay? Using the air currents. This is winnowing. Threshing again, this is again winnowing. You are finally removing the seeds from there. See, now this mixture, this seeds, now they are pure, okay? Let me show you once again. This is threshing. You are beating the plants, you are removing them from their stalk. You are removing the seeds from their stalk. Everyone, okay? Now, during this process, seed covers or seed husks, they will be present. And now you are separating the grains from finally their seed covers from whatever leftover debris or anything by using this winnowing process. Is it clear to everyone? Have you understood this? What's the
Yes,
difference
ma'am.
between winnowing and threshing? Everyone, is
Ma'am,
it clear?
threshing is when you beat it using physical force, and in winnowing we use air currents.
Yes, very good. Everyone, is it clear? To rest, all of you, is it clear? Have you people understood? What am I trying to tell you from here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, है ना? So winnowing is when you are using the air currents to separate the grains, okay? To separate the grains from their outer covers. Okay, from their outer covers. That is winnowing. And winnowing particularly uses air currents. Obviously, students, not to get confused, when you are threshing, obviously, since you are using physical forces, some seeds they will be automatically removed from their outer cover. And this now this after threshing, you have a whole lot mixture present in which your normal grains are also present and their outer covers are also present. Now you need to separate those. You need to separate your grains from their outer cover so that you can now have pure grains with you. So that's called as winnowing. Okay. So there is a machine. Okay. So now for a while, please forget this winnowing because this winnowing comes after threshing. So once threshing is done, then you do the winnowing, just like I have shown you in the video. Now this threshing, for the threshing purpose, you have a machine which is called as combine. Very, very important. Okay, this has been asked again various times in your examinations. Combine is a machine which can perform both the functions in one go. That means it can also harvest. It could remove the plants from the field, mature crops from the field, and it can also do the part of threshing. That means it can also physically beat the crops and it can remove the seeds from their stalks or from their outer covers. Okay, so combine does both. It both harvests and thresh. It does both harvesting and threshing. Both the tasks are performed by this machine, which is called as a combine. Okay, this machine is called as combine.
But ma'am, what about the winnowing?
Winnowing is again then done manually. You can use air currents or you can see in NCERT, there is a machine present. There is a machine shown for winnowing. So you can also use winnowing further. You can put the seeds in the machine for winnowing and they're using air currents. The seeds will be separated from their outer covers. Okay. Clear?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now, so you can see now the farmer sometimes in our households, usually, particularly in India, farmers, since they are not very rich, they are not very well to go, so they cannot afford so much machines. So they usually do this process of removing the weeds from their debris from their outer covers using the air currents like this. So from a height, the person is dropping the seeds and it is collected into a pile below. And whatever the debris is because of the air currents which are flowing, this debris will be removed. Is it clear to everyone? Yes, is it
ma'am.
clear? Now,
Yes, sir. Ma'am,
yes,
even
yes,
in
yes.
even in our household, sometimes our moms use the thing
Yes.
to take
Yes.
out any debris from the rice or anything.
Yes, 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 definitely. Okay. Now, harvesting. The period of harvest is of great joy and happiness in all parts of India, obviously, because the farmers' hard work has now turned into benefit, has now turned into crops. So, this you have certain special festivals which are associated with the harvesting of crops. Now, how many of you celebrate Holi? How many of you celebrate Holi? No one? Do you know about Holi?
I do, and I know about
Ma'am,
it.
Yes.
I celebrate Holi, but I'm not.
Okay. So see, there are various festivals which are associated with the harvesting of crops. Like particularly, I remember whenever Holi comes, what we do that one day prior to Holi, we lit up a fire, and in that fireplace, we take wheat kernels and we burn them in the flames of the Holi, which are growing. So what will happen basically? That is the period which is now marking the harvesting of wheat. Okay, because wheat is sown during winter season. Wheat is a rabi crop. Yes? Yes or no? Wheat is a rabi crop or a kharif crop? Everyone? Wheat is a rabi
Rabi
crop
crop.
or
Rabi crop.
yes, wheat is a rabi crop. So it is sown, it is cultivated from October to March. Now in March, Holi comes. So that means this marks the time when wheat needs to be harvested. Okay, because till March the wheat crops they would have grown. So what will happen now? We take blessings or we celebrate festivals which are associated with the harvesting of certain crops in different parts of India. Like you have Baisakhi, you have Diwali, you have Holi, you have Pongal. All these festivals you see, okay, which are associated with the
Ma'am, we do
uh,
it for Pongal. Pongal, we
yes,
uh, worship the harvesters and the cows
yes.
especially.
So which
They,
particularly crop do you celebrate harvesting of in Pongal?
ma'am, it's not a particular crop. We
Hmm.
take they combine all the vegetables. They make something. It's to
Yes.
worship like the crops that are growing and giving us food and
Yes. So
worship
which particular crop is grown? Which particular crop's
sugar
harvesting period
cane
is lying
mostly.
parallel to Pongal?
Ma'am, mostly sugar cane.
Yes. So you can see that different crops, okay, they are grown during different times of the season, and you have different festivals which are associated with the harvesting of the crops. Okay. Now, everyone solve this question. Okay, very good, everyone. Isabel, Ishan, Puvina, Venpa, Sudipti. Very good, everyone. Yes, theme is very good. So the correct answer is option number B, winnowing. Next. Okay, Isabel, Rishmita, very good for the previous answer. Isabel, Venpa, okay, Puvina, Ishan. Very good, everyone. Kevin, Sudipti, Themis, very good. So yes, the correct answer is Rishmita, very good. The correct answer is option number D, harvesting and threshing both. So in today's class, students, now we have covered what? We have talked about protection from weeds, okay? And also, students, please do not leave the class. Now we have practice session, okay? So protection from weeds, and also we have covered harvesting, in which we have understood the difference between winnowing and threshing. Now in next class, we are going to talk about storage, and if time permits, then we will also move ahead to animal husbandry. So now students, that's all for today's class.